Hello, this is my chapter 3 assignment where we were assigned a specific country and we had to figure out what it would take to get a store for Miller Mart started in that country. The country that I was assigned was the Bahamas, which at first I figured, oh, well, this actually might be a lot easier than I expected. But come to find out, it made it even more difficult than what I was expecting. But I found a lot of really good information, some stuff that really kind of got me thinking. And yeah, so this is basically what I found out. Starting with labor laws and stuff like that. The Bahamas is politically very similar to the United States, just obviously on a much smaller scale. But they are a democracy. They do have like elections and stuff like that. Um, as far as their labor laws go, they are very similar to the United States as well, where they have protections in place for discrimination and pregnancies and um, getting fired or get quitting or whatever. A lot of the stuff you see in the United States, though not nearly as developed. Everything's there. It's just it's not very dense because obviously there's when you're working with a population that's under 300,000, the population in this country is smaller than some states. So it's easier to just kind of like common sense laws, I guess, in a way. But some of the couple of the things that stood out to me that really kind of what I found interesting is they focus heavily on labor unions, which of course in the United States labor unions exist, but they're not as prevalent today as they used to be, um, or at least their power is a little bit different than what they used to be. But in uh, the Bahamas, they are very prevalent and have very high amounts of power to a point that if a person is to be fired from their job, they actually have to get the employer has to get approval from the labor union that qualifies them or is associated with them or something like that. So that's going to be interesting when it comes to if I have to deal with that kind of a situation. Couple of the basic demographics and like population pieces that I found. Um, the Bohemian government, or sorry, the Bohemian population is sorry, it's right under 400,000. It's 390, right around 390,000 people currently. Demographically speaking, it is very heavily African based. Most of the people living there are of African descent, right around 70 and some change percent, followed very closely by, or not very closely, but followed by right around 12 to 15% European, about 5% Asian, and about 5% Latin. Um, Also, looking here, they're almost 100% Christian. That's just how they are as far as a uh, religious standpoint. As far as my business goes, that's really not going to have much of an effect more than the actual racial demographic. And a lot of it is really interesting because it doesn't take into account the tourism aspect. Obviously, the Bahamas are a very popular tourist destination, and they say at times, depending on the season, the population can rise over 100,000 more due to tourists that are not people that are living there permanently, but might be there for a week or a day or a month or for a whole season or a whole year or something like that. Um, so it's one thing that I have to take into account of how I'm going to organize the store as far as like what we're going to offer as far as products and things like that. Um, as far as languages go, it is very much majorly English speaking. So it makes it easier as far as any language barriers you might run into. Pretty much everybody speaks English. There's a dash of like Caribbean French or Caribbean Spanish because of obviously being in the Caribbean and where the heritages come from. But for the most part, it is a English speaking country. So communicating with customers and between employees is not going to be difficult. As far as how I'm going to employ people and who I'm going to choose for my employees, being that we're going to be an American based company, I would like to have a few of my upper management, whether it be at the store level or like group managers or something like that. I'd like to be able to source them from the United States um, and have them be people who have had quite a few years of tenure under their belt, and they kind of know the processes that we expect and what we want to see happen within the business, because they'll be able to train the lower level employees, just the workforce, as to what we want to happen and how we want uh, customers to be treated, and et cetera, et cetera. But with that being said, the majority of the workforce is going to be from the home country. We want to make sure that we put people in place that represent the culture and represent the company or in the country, because again, it's a tourism country. So if tourists who might shop at the store, who are staying at a hotel down the street or whatever, come into the store and they just see a normal Walmart, they might be turned off by that. They're like, why? I would rather still be immersed in the culture, kind of a thing. So we want to keep it to where it is still uh, very bohemian rather than just a replica of the United States, kind of a thing. But with that being said, there are obviously going to be some things that need to be maintained on an international level, regardless of where we go. Um, so yeah, but I definitely want to use most of the workforce is going to be actually pretty much all of the workforce is going to be sourced from the Bohemian population, save for a few of the managers and maybe like people who can help train or whatever. They'll be sourced from the United States because they have the background with the company rather than with the culture, and vice versa too. I would make sure that I have some management team, maybe over time, maybe not necessarily starting off, but over time as some of the employees grow into management roles, putting them in management positions so they can bring the culture of how things are done in the Bohemian realm, I guess you could say, to the management team. So it gets a really nice kind of combination of the two. Um, some other things that I kind of thought about that we're going to have to worry about, again, going back to the population of tourists that we're going to see. The Bahamas are not very big as far as square footage goes, or square mileage, square footage. Um, so our store will probably see a lot of foot traffic, especially if we locate it in a spot that is uh, commandeering to that. It would be very intelligent for us to put the store kind of in a larger touristy area rather than like in the slums or something like that. But with that being said, we kind of have to pay attention to that. And the other thing that, I mean, it's obviously a big issue right now, IRL, is storm preparedness. We have to make sure that we're prepared for hurricanes and stuff like that. Um, and that regardless of what we are or what we might be facing, we need to make sure that we have the products and the needs and the knowledge to be able to help people both locally and tourists in case of emergency. That's going to be a huge thing with me. It really saddened me, being that I grew up in Florida and I've been to the Bahamas multiple times as a child and as a teenager and whatnot. Seeing the news come out of the Bahamas of how they pretty much just got obliterated by that hurricane really, really saddens me. And when we build this store there, I that would be one of my main focuses is that a the people take care of the store and do what is needed as employees to take care of the customers in case of an emergency situation, both before, during, and after, as well as flip 180 degrees. The store and the management team does what they need to do to take care of the employees before, during, and after a disaster situation. Um, if that means closing the store for profits in order to take care of our people, then we got to do what we got to do. I mean, I don't want to be seen as like this kind of like all work, never worry about it kind of a thing. We can replace you. I'm a big player in my employees or my family kind of a thing. And after seeing what severe trauma the Bahamas went through, it's a big thing for me. So, yeah, I definitely, I'm sure there's a bunch of other questions y'all are going to come up with, and I'll gladly answer more of them. I tried to think of as many things as possible that we might want to pay attention to. Um, but please, ask me questions. I'd love to answer them. I love these little think tank style, almost like games to me, because it really makes me sit down and go, let me see how I can actually do this in real life. So yeah, definitely ask me questions on anything I didn't cover. I would love to answer them. Other than that, I look forward to see your replies. Have a great day. Thank you.